here are three words you probably never expected to hear in the same sentence: Qatar, the U.S. Air Force, and Idaho. Yeah, you heard that right. Today, we're going to unpack how this incredibly strange combination tells a fascinating story about global diplomacy, war, and a surprising new reality taking shape right on American soil.
It really does sound like a random list of words, doesn't it? But it's not. This is a real story about global strategy, and it's playing out in one of the most unexpected places imaginable. So, let's break it down and figure out what is going on here.
All right, here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at the announcement itself. Then, the official reason the Pentagon is giving. After that, we'll dig into the deeper diplomatic angle, which is where it gets really interesting. We'll also cover the controversy surrounding the deal. And finally, we'll zoom all the way out to see what this means for the new map of the Middle East.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning with the announcement that kicked this whole thing off. Now, this wasn't some leak or a quiet rumor. This came directly from the very top of the Pentagon.
The words came from the U.S. Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, who was standing right next to his Qatari counterpart. And the key detail was, honestly, stunning. This wasn't for a new American facility. Nope. It was for a brand new Qatari facility built right on an existing U.S. Air Force base.
So, let's get crystal clear on the core facts here. We're talking about Qatari pilots and military personnel setting up their own dedicated training facility for their super advanced F-15 fighter jets, smack dab in the middle of Idaho. You have to understand, this is a huge commitment from both countries. This is a deep integration of their militaries, not just some casual one-off training exercise.
Okay, so that's the what. But the big question, of course, is the official why. I mean, why is the U.S. military hosting another country's entire Air Force unit in Idaho?
Well, according to the Secretary of Defense, this is all about military partnership. The stated goal, you see it right there, is to improve how the two air forces work together, making them a more lethal, more effective fighting force. That word, interoperability, that's just military speak for making sure your allies' equipment and tactics work seamlessly with yours. So, on the surface, it's presented as a pretty standard military-to-military team-up.
But as you can probably guess, in geopolitics, the official reason is almost never the whole story. To really get what's going on, you have to look at the timing of this announcement, because the timing is everything.
And this is where it gets really telling. In the very same speech where he announced the Idaho base, Secretary Hegseth didn't just talk about military stuff. He went on repeatedly and very explicitly to thank Qatar for its absolutely crucial role as a diplomat, especially in helping to create what he called an historic peace in Gaza.
Now, what's so fascinating is when you just lay out the sequence of events. Check this out. Just weeks before this Idaho announcement, Qatar successfully negotiated the release of Americans being held in Afghanistan. Then, in the days right before, they were the main player in securing the Gaza Peace Deal. And then, boom, on October 10th, the announcement is made. When you see it laid out like this, the connection is almost impossible to ignore. This military partnership looks a whole lot like a direct reward for these huge diplomatic favors.
Now, as you can imagine, a decision this big and this unusual has definitely sparked a ton of discussion and, yeah, some serious controversy. So let's take a fair look at the two competing stories that have popped up.
So on one side, you have the official line, this is a straightforward move to make a key partnership even stronger. But on the other side, there's a lot of public skepticism. That timing has led to accusations of a quid pro quo, basically a this for that deal. And critics are also pointing to Qatar's very complex, sometimes murky role in the region, arguing that its ties to groups like Hamas and its relationship with Iran make this whole partnership, well, pretty problematic.
But amid all the controversy, it's really important to ask a simple question. Is the act of hosting a foreign air force on U.S. soil itself unprecedented? And the answer is no, not at all. This is where you see the difference between what's politically controversial and what's actually new. The Republic of Singapore's Air Force has actually been training at the very same base in Idaho since 2009, and the U.S. has also hosted German pilots in New Mexico and Iraqi pilots in Arizona.
So, if we put all of these pieces together, the official mission, the diplomatic reward, the controversy, the context, what's the big picture here? What does this move really tell us about what's happening on the world stage? So, what's the real takeaway? This is so much more than just jets in Idaho. This deal is a physical symbol of Qatar's new elevated role. It's no longer just a diplomatic go-between.
It's now being treated as a fully integrated defense partner. It's a move that basically cements its diplomatic value with concrete military ties, and that signals a major shift in the power dynamics of the region.
This whole episode reveals a very clear playbook for American foreign policy. If you provide crucial diplomatic help, you get rewarded with deep military integration. And that leaves us with a pretty big question for the future. As this model of mixing diplomacy and defense continues, who's going to be the next country to step into that kind of powerful role on the world stage?